Hey everybody, Kristen here. As you know, I believe homemade is best, but it doesn't need to be complicated. And today I'm going to share with you one of my favorite go-to recipes when I want to entertain a crowd, Tex-Mex style. We're going to make my version of Instant Pot Carnitas, and while it's not authentic, the flavors are out of this world and it's incredibly easy to do. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is hit saute on our Instant Pot. To our inner pot here, I'm going to add in about a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, and we're gonna let that heat. While our oil is heating, let's talk about our pork. I have 3 pounds of boneless pork loin today. You could use pork shoulder or pork butt, and you wanna cut it into 3 to 4 inch cubes. That's just gonna allow a lot more surface area to coat the pork in the flavor, which will result in more tender pork and delicious results. So we're gonna add our pork to our oil here, and we're gonna let it sear on each side until it's nice and golden, and we're gonna work in batches as needed. I often get asked if it's worth taking the time to sear your meat, and for some recipes, it's critical. For others, it doesn't make any difference. This recipe falls somewhere in between, so if you're short on time, you can skip the searing and you will still have delicious results. But in a side-by-side test comparison, we preferred when I started this recipe with searing the pork. It just adds a little bit more texture, seals in that moisture, and we're gonna broil it after it's done to give it that crispy carnitas texture, but searing it gives it a little bit of an advanced start so you don't have to broil it as long. So once it has just a nice little browning there, you just wanna remove it to a plate and repeat the process. Today I'm using pork loin. Again, you can make this using pork butt or pork shoulder. That's the same cut of meat. It's a little bit easier to find pork loin that's boneless, but I've been able to find pork butt or pork shoulder that are boneless sold at all my grocery stores. And if not, the butcher usually will be happy to cut those pork butts for you into large chunks. And you can certainly do it yourself. It's just a little bit harder to work around that bone. Okay, our pork is nice and seared, and so we can turn off our saute function by hitting cancel. And then you know the drill. Anytime we saute anything, we need to deglaze our inner pot to prevent a burn notice. Plus, that's a lot of flavor there on the bottom of our inner pot. So I have 1 cup of light lager beer today, which is like a Coors Light, a Corona, a Blue Moon, anything like that. And you can certainly use chicken stock if you're gluten-free or you just don't cook with alcohol. I really like the flavor that the beer adds to the carnitas. It just gives this bright, acidic flavor and some rich undertones, but chicken stock works just as well. And then you want to scrape up any brown bits on the bottom of the inner pot. For additional cooking liquid and additional flavor, we're gonna add 1 cup of orange juice. You wanna use low pulp orange juice just for the best consistency in the sauce. Fresh or refrigerated is fine here. That's 1 cup of orange juice. And then to season this up further, I have 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of cumin, and 1 teaspoon of dried oregano. And we want to add a pinch of salt and pepper again, just to build those layers of flavor. Give that a little stir just to incorporate. Then we're going to nestle our seared pork back into the inner pot in the liquid. It's okay if it overlaps slightly. And then we're going to let this pressure cook. When you're cooking pork loin, it doesn't need as long as pork shoulder or pork butt. So the only thing that changes between the 2 cuts of meat is the length of cook time. So for pork loin, which I'm using today, we're gonna cook on high pressure for 30 minutes. For pork butt or pork shoulder, you would cook for 40 minutes on high pressure. Okay, that's it. So we're gonna pop our lid on our Instant Pot. Make sure your venting knob is pointed towards sealed or your lid is locked. And then to set the cooking time, hit pressure cook or manual and use the plus or minus buttons to adjust to 30 for pork loin or 40 for pork butt or pork shoulder. While our pork is cooking, I'm gonna use this time to whip up a quick slaw, which I love to top my carnitas with. Totally optional, but I wanted to share it here with you guys in case you wanted to use it as well. So I have a head of red cabbage here, purple cabbage, whatever you wanna call it. And you can use green cabbage, that works well. And a lime. And I'm just gonna squeeze the lime over the cabbage here, and then I'm gonna give it a good pinch of salt. You could add some cumin, You could add a little bit of garlic powder, but I really don't find that's necessary. This lime juice and salt is just gonna help to break down the cabbage and give it this bright acidic crunch that pairs really well with the rich meat of the carnitas. You wanna give that a toss, then cover and refrigerate, and it'll be ready to go by the time our carnitas are finished. Once the cooking time has elapsed, you wanna let pressure release naturally for at least 15 minutes, and that's gonna keep that pork super, super tender. Or you can just do a full natural pressure release, which I did today. Then you wanna open up your Instant Pot. Seriously smells so good in here. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna remove this pork to a large mixing bowl here, and we're gonna shred it up so that we can have that nice carnitas meat for tacos, for burritos, for enchiladas. Falling apart here. Oh, I can't wait to dig in. This is one of my favorites. The beer, the orange juice, the cumin, garlic, oregano, it's just got so much flavor. Because we used pork loin today, it's extremely lean too. Pork butt is delicious and still leaner than traditional carnitas, which are simmered in pork fat. Delicious. But this is an easy way we can replicate that flavor at home, and it is so good. So you just wanna shred that up. Woo, it's like steam bath in here. You can see it's falling apart here. And at this point, you don't have to do anything more. It's delicious. You can serve it on tacos, you can serve it however you like. But what I like to do to kind of replicate that carnitas texture is to pop it on a sheet pan once it's shredded. I mean, it took me seconds to shred this meat. Ooh, so tender. So what I like to do here is pop this on the sheet pan and pop it under the broiler. You could use a cast iron skillet and sear it on there just to give it a little crispy texture. You can get it all done on a big sheet pan quicker. That's the way I like to go. You wanna add a little bit of that cooking liquid just so that it doesn't dry out there. Ladle that over the pork, and that's gonna help prevent it to dry out while it's broiling. And then I like to save this to store the leftover meat in the cooking liquid. Again, it'll just keep it super flavorful because this makes a lot. And so when you're serving it as tacos, it stretches to feed you for quite a few meals, which is great. Pop this on the broiler, then I'm gonna show you how I plate it up here in just a second. Okay, my pork has been broiled. You can broil it as long as you like or as short as you like, or you can skip the broiling altogether. And my cabbage, I pulled that out of the fridge, and so now I'm ready to dish these up. Okay, so I topped mine with some cabbage and avocado. Some crumbled queso fresco would be delicious as well, feta even, but I like it just like this. Wow, it is unbelievably delicious. The pork is tender, it's filled with incredible flavor. The cabbage gives it this bright crunch that's delicious. It is fabulous. You guys are gonna absolutely love this recipe. You have to make it. And for another delicious recipe that would pair really well with these carnitas, be sure to catch my next recipe where I share with you how to make Instant Pot refried beans. Until next time, happy cooking.